What really got me interested in packaging design to start is when I was in college, I did a project. I think it's here. I was in my 4th semester, packaging design, and in my 2nd year, I tried out for a job just down the street from the college. It was a place called Thomas Pigeon Design Group. I took in my portfolio. Sometimes when you're in an interview where you're proud of your work and they're flipping through, they'll be like, okay, and you're like, I just want to explain that one. Anyway, they stopped at this one. Let's see. So we had to do a packaging for like a kaleidoscope. So I got to do sort of, it was all cut and paste back then. So you can see I've got the film. I painted fluorescent gouache on the back, and I was able to print the acetate. And I just used some paper I picked up, I don't know, whatever, Michael's or something like that, and pasted it down. And this is what got me the job. So I started working with them. I learned a lot about paste up, mounting, color separations, that sort of thing. So it was really a great experience. From there, I went on to work with another company downtown Toronto with Coca-Cola, Fruitopia, Converse, Athlete's World. Did a lot of point of purchase stuff, so things like this. This is a shelf talker. So this, we'll talk about all this in class in both packaging design and 3D environmental design. We'll be getting into point of purchase displays. I worked for a number of studios in the past. Yeah, I guess I was trying to find what I was interested in inside of graphic design, since it's such a vast industry. Production, illustration, CD covers or annual reports. So I just found myself going through, say, places like Toys R Us or candy stores and really loving the wacky, brilliant colors of, toys and candy. So I started off in many different studios, but the one studio where I started to get interested, I guess I was working for a print agency in Toronto, and mainly printing and pre-press, that sort of industry, but they hired me as a creative director to start coming in and designing for their clients, which were a lot of forms and annual reports and things like that. I wasn't really motivated. So one day, the president, I was talking to him and I said, is there anything we could do? Anyway, he said, if you were interested in getting some print jobs, and I've been in sales before as well, he said, you can go out and if you get any kind of print job, I'll give you 5% commission. He said, I'd like to sort of work on a marketing strategy to get more print in, because they were able to sell printing for cheaper, they thought, than any other industry. Anyway, so I started off, it was kind of a fun project, but we started off with this marketing campaign. This is actually a package. I'll just show you. I'll assemble it really quickly here. So what we ended up doing is we sent out a potato to all prospective clients. You're probably thinking, why? We actually sent it out and we said, it's your free personal printer. And we sent it in sort of crumpled up craft paper with twine, and sort of nostalgic looking. So basically what the client would get would be this box, look like a potato. And then on the bottom, there's the logo of the company. And when you open this little flap, had a little arrow cut into it there, it would say, sorry, I gotta use my glasses here, looking to save money on print jobs? And it would have sort of a tongue-in-cheek sort of way of showing you how to cut your potato into printing plates, and then come up with your design and your inks, ketchup, mustard, relish. We're not supplied with this potato, your free personal printer, but a lot of play on words. I didn't write the copy. We hired a copywriter for it, but it was really cool, and it did get them a lot of business. Actually, we did a little ad in Print Action here, and there it is there. So we used that as well and got an ad in there. It was fun though because I got to play with every panel and add an extra panel on this. So when you open this up, you can see that I sort of used potato shavings for the inside because they had every part of printing that you would want. So matte varnish, nice paper. I got to use all sorts of little areas. So like inside the top panel, this spuds for you. On the bottom, when you opened up the bottom, they had a customer testimony by Mr. Potato Head. Oh yes, potato tone chips. I know you'd appreciate that one. And then no potato bugs. And important, don't get fried or fired by missing deadlines. Keep out of reach with small children with large mouths. I was younger. Okay, and there's the press sheet there. As I was working at the print company, I wanted to have a little bit more. I was interested in having more of a creative workflow. I wanted more creative projects to work on, and I was discussing this with the president. And he said, you know, if you go and win some design, I will give you 15% commission on all of the creative jobs that you bring into the company. So my dad at the time was a buyer for Toys R Us. Of course, I wasn't allowed to really use his name, but he'd give me different companies that did different things. And of course, I would go into, let's say, Toys R Us, and I'd look at the back of the package and I'd see who did what, you know, who was the supplier for different products. So I'd go in and I'd cold call and I would go and have a meeting with them. Anyway, there's this one company specifically that I went into, and they were in Vaughan, and they were called Play Toy Industries. So I went into them and said, look, I'm working for a printer, and if you need any help with printing, well, we usually get our printing done in China, so we're good there, but we have a job, a little project, maybe you would like to take a run at it. I said, sure. So I ended up bringing home, or bringing to my business at the time, yo-yos. So I started off, so Duncan is a brand name and Yo-Yo is a separate brand name. And at the time, Playtoy owned both brand names. So they wanted to design packaging for both Duncan and Yo-Yo all together in one package, which you won't see that anymore because the brands have gone in their own direction. Anyway, so I went back to the studio and I told my boss, and he was like, nice work. So right away I did some concepts and then went back to them. So I started off the butterfly yo-yo. So I gave them 3 concepts, and I mean, they're not strong. I used the trick where you have one favorite and then one not so favorite and then one that's not the best, and you're just sort of playing and not sure. It sort of helps to get the client to sort of pick something. Anyway, I really like the nostalgic look of the old patches and things throughout the years, but they liked this one, and they said, cool, let's move ahead. So that went really well, and I ended up doing, so that's the finished product there, and then of course you've got your directions and things on the back, and had a gold foil, sort of an official stamp on the actual package. It led to a whole line look. So we've got the Imperial, we've got the glow in the dark, the neon, yo-yo strings and that sort of thing with the wax. It's pretty serious, you know, this yo-yoing. And then we've got the classic wooden yo-yo as well. And this one didn't have Duncan on it. There is the Duncan yo-yo trick book. So all packaging starting to get into the toy industry, and I'm super happy. So after doing the creative for the yo-yos, they asked me if I would be interested in putting together their catalog. And I ended up doing their catalog. So you can see I'm using all of their products, and they had, like you can see, there's just hundreds of products. There's, you know, we've got the yo-yo line. We've got different kinds of licenses that you've got Toy Story and Disney. Yeah, so I've worked with different licenses, and there's the covers of the yo-yos, so Mickey Mouse and the Lion King and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's so I got to do, and it was really cool. I think it's it's 60, 66-page catalog, and it had all of their products in there. And the cool thing about this is not only did I get to design it and put it together, I got to bring this print job in. I can't remember how many units they bought, but the cool thing is I got to utilize the printing capabilities fully. So you can see there's a spot varnish on this where it's shiny and matte where it's not, and it was a great project. And that's when they called me for a meeting, and one of the ladies at Playtoy asked me to come in, and she sat me down and said, look, just put a piece of paper across the table, and she gave me this proposal to work for them as their creative director. Anyway, this is the coolest company I've ever worked for, because it's not only package design, but it was product development, like working on new items like plush toys, and what kind of package, if it's an alien, do they ship in a spaceship, and what's that spaceship look like? And it was so cool. I had an office with a glass desk. I had inflatable chairs for my clients, and I worked with a whole bunch of other really cool people. So I start off with doing some Crazy Bones stuff. I did the logo for Canada. You can't really see it there. There it is there. This is the Series 1. And this little character on here, his name is Bones. I did not design him or draw him, but we have similar styles. So I could have, but I did not. But anyway, this is, that's Series 2. There we go. That's Series 1. So these two here have Playtoy Industry logos on them. So Series 1 and 2, and then they pulled the plug. They called us into the boardroom, and unfortunately they announced that they were going bankrupt. So a couple of fellas bought the license for Crazy Bones. We ended up doing Series 3 and Series 4, and you can see their teasers, right? They're making them in opaque blisters so that kids can't see them on the shelf. So it adds that wonderment and collectability. And they were really crazy for a while. So, and then we did the foil packs as well. So there's Series 2, Series 3, and then the Aliens was Series 4. We did cards for them as well, playing cards, which was a lot of fun to put together as well. We also, I got to do this is when they were Playtoy, I got to do the first sticker book, and then when the other guys bought it, I ended up doing a second sticker book. So it showed games and stuff inside. I did not draw any of these characters, but each of these foil packs or blister cards came with stickers, so kids would use them. They know how to play the games at the back and that sort of thing. So I got to work on those as well. I got to do the game, which is, I keep these things, but sometimes I get rid of them. But because this is a Canadian package, everything had to be in bilingual, and there's certain rules and restrictions for Canadian packaging. What else? We did some presentation pocket folders. So here's Bones on the front here, and just got to sort of be creative as to how that would work. They were really happy with that. And just to show you that even though it's a packaging design class, there's also ways to utilize what I'm going to show you in different areas by using some creative die cuts and that sort of thing. So here's just a quick sample of things that can be done with creative die cuts that I've worked on before for pocket folders and things like that, which are kind of fun. This was just your basic one. And yeah, these are just different concepts of holding pocket folders together with a business card and that sort of thing. So just basically designing different ideas to sort of present to clients. And this is a counter display created for the foil packs for Crazy Bones. You'll see that this was a learning curve here. Basically, what this was supposed to ship flat, actually it was actually shipped with all the product inside, like so. And of course it was all done together on the bottom. And then what would happen is the store owner or whatever would open this up, and then they would crack it down and pop it behind the the product, so it would sit and all of the foil packs would be inside. However, not enough paper to hold it. It was fun to work on, but these little learning curves as you go. After they went bankrupt, I went off on my own and I started to shop different businesses. So I got into pharmaceuticals, so like, you know, different vitamins here. We've got, I don't know what these are, formula for women or 50 plus formula. And then we've got some children's vitamins. And I did a ton of different herbal vitamins and that sort of thing. So a lot of packaging, a lot of little mouse type and that sort of thing. So that was another industry that I was involved in once I started my own business. I actually got to work on the Etch-a-Sketch package, which was basically someone that bought the license for them and started to sell them through Canada, so they needed bilingual packaging. Of course, I just went into the existing artwork and went through it and created Canadian packaging for them. Interesting story here, I had a company that did these little planes, indoor digital proportional remote control airplane. They had some pretty cool packaging, so I'll just show you. We had the Viper, we had the Firebug, and then the Xenox, and they were pretty cool. They had their packaging sitting on skids in Walmart, and on the package they had this really cool, on this one it's printed right here, but they had this really cool hologram that you could move and see this plane moving. So they called me and said, we have a little bit of an emergency because Walmart Canada has all of our products sitting on the floor on skids, and they won't put it on the shelves because it's US only. It's in Canada. You need to have bilingual packaging. Do you have any ideas? And I said, well, it would be a pain, but you could go into the stores with a sleeve, make it a little bit bigger than the box, and it had all the Canadian text and warnings on it. And so that is what we did. So we printed these sleeves, as I wrecked them, and painfully somebody had to go in there. So I left a little die cut here in the center, but somebody had to go in there for every box and every package and slide the sleeve over every package in every store across Canada for three different products. So, but it was a solution, right? They got Canadian packaging out of it. It was acceptable because they were scared if they had to send it out of Walmart, they wouldn't take it back again. I went to New York Toy Fair, and I actually went to Hong Kong Toy Fair, and was able to pick up some really neat clients. One was Bandai, and it was I did a lot of license work. So the package was already designed, and it was a lot of action figures and you know, vehicles and that sort of thing. But the package was pretty much designed English only. So I started to be the guy to go to for bilingual packaging, Canadian packaging, and sometimes international packaging. So I started to work on different licenses, like Power Rangers were one, Pokemon, Digimon, Strawberry Shortcake. I think this is 2003. This is, you know, you get your DVD full of your assets, and then they give you all your guidelines and your graphics and assets there, and tell you how, you know, what color, and if it's, there's a Canadian portion, I think, that was emailed to me, that basically, her name is Fraisanette in Canada, and instead of having the words in the background, as you can sort of see here, we just had like little strawberries and things like that. So I basically did a ton of Strawberry Shortcake and Hello Kitty. I met some other guys, a couple of brothers that got into business together and decided to get into, I think they had some really cool products, like solar powered golf bags and that charge your battery when you're on the golf course and things like that. Anyway, I ended up doing some sandwich bags for kids, which They're like the little plastic sandwich bags, and they had like a little white image on them, and the kids could color them. Anyway, so I got to do quite a bit of stuff. I think they even stationery, pencils and erasers and sets like that. But I worked a lot on different licenses there as well. So Nickelodeon, let's see, we've got Diego, Dora, SpongeBob. I think Wonder Pets was part of the Nickelodeon license as well. What else do we have? So worked on Marvel, which was cool. It was so neat to see all these characters. They're all separate. You could separate them in Photoshop, and the backgrounds and things like that, how they were built. It was really neat. They were pretty advanced Photoshop files, actually. And then Marvel, I guess, Disney bought Marvel. So I was working on Marvel before they were purchased by Disney. Oh, there's Dora again. And then The Amazing Spider-Man, and I can't remember what other licenses. Anyway, it was just interesting to sort of go through, oh, The Amazing Spider-Man. This is The Amazing Spider-Man. Oh, Spider-Man and Friends, the kids-friendly version, you know, with the big mitts and big feet and stuff. Anyway, so that was fun for a while. Quick story about that. My computer that I had at the time, I think it was a G5, it just made this click noise, and I lost all of the artwork for this, and it was just terrible. I had to take it in, get it all cleaned out, like in a clean room with white suit, vacuum sealed, and take all the optical discs apart for these solid state drives, and so stressful. Anyway, I got back some of the information, but most of it was gone. So I had to go back to, thank goodness, I had provided them press ready PDFs. I could go back in and grab a lot of that info, which was already press ready. So, whew. But back up your stuff on clouds. That's what I'll say about that. So another company that was a lot of fun to work with was Sandy Lion Stickers. We came up with a home decor line. I think we did a lot of licensed home decor as well, like Spider-Man and things like that. But yeah, they came up with their own brand, and I got to work on the packaging for that. So that was a lot of fun. Instructions, cross sells, that sort of thing. This is a neat story. Bratz, 2016. No. Brat, 2006. I had a client come in that I'd worked with when I was doing Power Rangers, and they said, we need some Canadian versions of our Bratz packaging. And I was super excited. These are, they're not mine. All right, they're mine. But I love the packaging, although it's excessive. And any child, if you guys get involved in packaging design and a kid says, what do you do? Oh, I do toy packaging, or I do packaging design. They'll give you trouble because you make it so hard to get the toy out when it's not really our job. We just do that beautiful artwork. Anyway, I did not design these, but I wanted to explain where I'm involved in this whole Bratz line. So when Bratz were not in trouble, I'll point out a few things here. So, I mean, who wants to let their children play with kids that are in their lingerie, negligee? Anyway, I didn't let mine play with them. Anyway, so if you notice, we've got this insert here, and we've got little cardboard inserts inside the package. Hologram stickers, we've got a ton of stuff in there. So very involved packaging, and a ton of it. My job was to bilingualize, or make bilingual, the packaging. However, the die lines were not to change. So when I say that, see this little collectible flash here that's an insert. I actually had to put in the French in there as well, and without changing the die line. So not fun, but it was like you can see in there how, you know, it's going around the descenders of the word it was not fun. And the end result's like, don't tell anybody it was me. But anyway, it was a challenge, but we did it because everything was embedded and flattened, and anyway, I had to hire somebody to come in and help me with that one, but it worked out really well in the end until they got sued by Mattel. And the story there is, I think there was a freelancer working for Mattel at the time, was drawing Bratz dolls, and then when he was freelancing for Mattel, and because these guys were filling up 4-foot sections all the way down in Toys R Us, and they were almost as big as Barbie at one point, and I think Mattel was starting to sweat, so they found a way. They had to not make any more products, and I think they were sued quite a bit. So yeah, it was too bad, but at the same time, I guess that's business. Anyway, at a golf tournament, Toys R Us golf tournament, I met some gentlemen there, father and a son, that basically wanted to get into the toy industry. They had purchased the license for Rawlings, and they needed somebody. We were chatting, and they needed somebody that was package design, and I said sure, and it was international Canadian packaging. So I'll show you. Basically, I started to develop a logo because Rawlings was in Canada. This client that I had, they were non-regulation. They could only put out products that were non-regulation products. So, for instance, Rawlings is basically baseball glove. These guys wanted to get involved in hockey, skateboard, wheeled goods, trampoline, everything else that was not baseball, and they were licensed to do that because they bought the license for Canada. So I was really excited because I took the little Circle R, I'll show you. I took the Circle R, or the Oval R, and created this sort of winged logo, and they approved it, and they actually used it on their packaging, the Canadian client that had bought the license, and they loved it. So we did bike helmets, like bicycle helmets, and all sorts of things had this winged logo on it. And I was super, proud to think that I created this brand that was a huge name on its own. This is why it's important to make sure that you really, even if you're dealing with salespeople that are just so excited and they want to sell their product, they bought the license, they want to move forward with it, really important to make sure that there is a style guide for the license that needs to be adhered to. I think there was a miscommunication just because it was an experimental market, basically going outside of baseball. So anyway, I was really happy that I got to use this logo. In fact, they got to do, it was printed on a whole bunch. This is a big wheel scooter. It was printed on a couple of them. I've got this girl's one, and then I have a boy's one. Although it could be the other way around, right? Nowadays, it doesn't matter. But these are collectors, because what happened was the U.S. office saw the packaging and they freaked out and said, "You're not sticking to the style guide. Like, this is not what we allow." And so they had to. I don't think they had to recall, but they definitely were. They were stopped. You can't make and manufacture any more products. Here's our style guide, adhere to that. So we went through a few iterations. I actually got in touch with the brand director, and he, we sort of, I would send him files to say, is this okay? And that worked out really well. So then the brand that they had in the style guide actually ended up changing. And then it started to look more like this. So now we're using the actual the actual script logo. As you can see, there is some spot varnishing on there, and it was a lot of fun. It actually looked a little bit more of a sort of a higher end product which they could probably charge a little bit more for. They also won some awards for their line look for this, so I was proud that they did. So since that, I worked with this company. We did. They bought the license for NBA, Warrior, Brine, and I think we worked on a little over 700 items. So it turned out to be great. This is one of those soccer balls that you kick and it slides along the carpet. It's interesting. Anyway, I also got to put together some brands that were sort of more affordable brand, but what I love about these things is I get to actually design the product as well. Not design the stick. I get the stick, but I get to label slap onto it. So I get to design the coloring and things like that. So that's a lot of fun. Future Stars is sort of a brand that I had designed for. My client came up with the name, and they did some trampolines and basketball hoops and things like that. So I think they're in Canadian Tire and things like that as well. There was one really cool thing, and I'll just end with this. I got to work with the Canadian Olympic Committee, which was really cool. They actually asked me to come up with their packaging style guide. So got to go to Toronto to the main office and went in and met with them and went through and created some packaging using some of their old assets and bringing it forward and creating, guidelines for boxed, blister, labels, all sorts of things. However, after we were done the first iteration, we were getting ready to do a larger scale, and then the brakes were put on somehow, and I think they pulled out because they partner with Canadian Tire, and I know that they have their own in-house creative. So I'm not sure what happened there, but it sort of fell through the cracks. But it was really cool to be a part of that whole thing for a little while. I love packaging design. I'll even buy products just because of the packaging. We're going to have some fun this term with package design. I've actually got some really cool projects. I think I'm going to have a live project come in. Details are still being worked out, but there's going to be a live project coming in from a supplier, a local supplier, maybe two. Anyway, looking forward to it.